Thank you, Sheila. You're awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I'm actually not going to talk about that big career transition, even though that's what everyone wants to hear about. But if you buy me I was going to say a glass of wine, and then all of a sudden bottles started coming out. Bottle of wine, I'd be happy to tell you more about that. But there isn't just like one point in your life where you go, okay, I'm going to do it now. So there is a long path that brought me to where I am now, and also helped me develop the courage to do what I'm doing and leave the security and also the toxicity, in my case, of the corporate world, to do my own thing and try to do something that feels very rewarding to me. And to me, it's getting women in the outdoors and helping them have some of these transformative experiences that I've had in the mountains, and especially without risking their lives. Because you'll see from a lot of my talks, I've done some pretty extreme things, because apparently I had a really, really thick skull. So I had to try stuff that was really hard to convince myself that I had a lot of power and strength, and I could do more than I thought, and more than people thought I could do as well. But I'll take you to a climb that's about 4 years ago, where I really discovered the value of having passion. And that's Mount McKinley, or the native name's Denali. Has anyone heard of that? It's the highest peak in North America. It's 20,320 feet high. And you may know that as you go up in altitude, the pressure declines so that there's less available oxygen for you to breathe. The same thing happens when you go north. So climbing on Denali is a lot harder, climbing 20,000 feet, than it is anywhere near the equator. And a lot of people that have climbed Everest and Denali will tell you that Denali is far more difficult. So you actually get dropped off by ski plane with everything that you have with you for the next 21 days. And you better have packed right. Not too light, not too heavy, but what you have to do then is take everything on your own back and in a sled. I had about somewhere between 100 and 120 pounds of gear. So it was really hard. It was really heavy. And every day you had to hike up, and what we would do is actually hike up and dig a cache. And a cache is just a hole of like 6 to 10 feet deep, and put your supplies there, because on the way back you'd have to dig it back up. But what this helped you do was go high, dig a cache, get some exercise, if you want to call it that, come back down, sleep low, and acclimatize. And then you would jump past that cache, make a new camp, come back and get some of the cache, and rinse and repeat. So basically you end up climbing this 20,320 foot mountain twice. And did I mention that that year there had been a volcanic eruption of Mount Redoubt that had blanketed ash all over the Kahiltna Glacier? And you know how if there's a single pebble, how it will sink because it absorbs the heat? Well, imagine if there's a whole layer of ash. So the whole glacier had really gotten out of shape. And you worry a lot when you're crossing a crevasse and you're on a snow bridge that if it lets go, you have to rely on your partner to actually stop that fall dynamically. So there's a lot of danger in that. What we chose to do was climb at night, which meant we slept all day, and we woke up at 10 or 11 p.m. and we climbed all night. And that made it a lot safer, but it was also pretty tough. And what happens at night is that it gets really, really, really cold. This may be the coldest I've ever felt in my entire life, was when I snapped this self-portrait right here. I have no idea what the temperature was. All I know is I had every single layer on and I was still shivering. It's freaking cold in the middle of the night up high in Alaska near the Arctic Circle. Okay, it's just hard. And you might be now starting to think like, this woman's crazy. But there's a reason. There's a reason why I do this. And that's to see things like this in the middle of the night. And the sun never completely glows down, and everything just glows pink and purple around you. So it's like being on the moon. And the beauty is just completely unspeakable. And to know that you're one of very few people on this planet that have seen things like this, that have worked hard enough to get there, and who have the strength and stamina to do it. And again, look at me. I'm 5'1". I'm, by most standards, like BMI, I'm obese. I mean, like, I shouldn't be able to do this stuff, but I love it so much. And that's what my partner kept saying. He was like, I'm surviving here. I mean, I'm just on the edge, and it seems like you're thriving. Like, I don't get it. I'm like, yeah, because I really love this. it is really difficult to explain being in an environment like this. While it's intense and isolating and scary, it's also just so beautiful, the simplicity of your life. You get up in the morning and all you have to do is be super body aware. Do I need to eat? Do I need to drink? How am I acclimatizing? What are my layers like? Where are we going next? And that's all you have to worry about. There's no distractions. There's no other responsibilities. There's no multitasking. Multitasking will kill you in this environment. And it's just really beautiful. It takes you back to this sort of real basics in survival that we don't get to experience much in our daily life. So we made it up to the 14,000 foot camp, and that takes 11 days to do. But we are graced with this. And those actually, if you can see these footprints there, those are our footprints from later on. And we went up to sort of a big lump of rock on the horizon. That's where we were putting our camp in. We were doing a little bit of a more difficult route than usual. My recommendation, if you ever try to do Denali, start with the easy route. Don't make it any harder than you have to. So we went up there, and we were going to put our final camp in. And the last step would be then to go from there to the summit. And that was really hard work. So this is some of our stuff looking down at the 14K camp, so you can get a feeling of like how high, and there's nobody else on this route, so we're really, really alone. And this is our little wall here, and literally you would do like a couple of strokes with the snow saw, strenuous, and then have to lean over against that rock and go, and then do a few more. So it was hard work. That's my point. It's hard to take you there, but it's really, really hard. And the whole while we're looking down, there's a drop-off right there. So if you fall, you go down like 3,000 feet. So it's pretty intense. So again, like no multitasking. Thank you. So after we came down from this day, it was pretty cool because everybody in 14 camp had been watching us, and they were really stoked and wanted to know what it was like. But that afternoon, we witnessed a really horrible accident, and I'll spare you the details of that. But it was the first time I'd ever seen death in the mountains, and it happened right above our camp. So that kind of hit me pretty hard, and I said, you know, I love this, but I don't want to die doing it. I still want to go on, but I want to give my body a couple more days to build some more red blood cells. So let's go up the normal route, which is going to be our descent route, familiarize ourselves a little bit, because we'll be coming down unfamiliar territory. And I started going, like, we only went up like 500 feet, and I just was shut down by this horrible pain in my side. Every time I'd expand my rib cage, it'd just be like absolute intense pain. Now, has anyone ever had a cracked rib before? Yeah, you know how when you breathe too much or you sneeze or you laugh and you're just like, ah! So it was like that kind of pain. It's like, that's not good. Not up here, you do this like full body breathing. So we're like, well, clearly we're not going up tomorrow. We'll take another day and do the same thing and see if you start getting better. And the next day I got shut down twice as fast. And then the next day even faster. And it was like, I'm not getting better. And you usually don't recover at altitude. Your body's really compromised. So I went to there's a ranger medic up there, and it's sort of like self-respecting climbers try not to ever go to the ranger tent. You don't want to bother them, use their resources. You want to say like, I was self-sufficient and did it on my own. But I started to think, well, maybe I do need a rescue. Maybe something really is wrong. And he checked me out, and he's like, I can't tell it's anything, you know, the normal, really concerning things at high altitude, pulmonary edema or anything like that. It's like, it's probably something like a cracked rib. You know the deal. You're not going to get any better up here. You can't go higher. And I was like, yeah. So there was an option to try to get a helicopter ride out. But I have too much pride and really wanted to be self-sufficient and really believe in the ethic of, if you're going to get yourself up there, you got to get yourself down, unless you really, really, really can't, because you put other people's lives at risk anytime they get in that helicopter to try to come and get somebody. So we packed up. It was really sad because I felt like it was my body that had failed us. And we started hiking back down. So that's me there going around Windy Corner, lots of people still coming up. But we were basically hell-bent on getting down fast, because we weren't sure exactly what was wrong with me. And we made it down in 11 hours, what had taken us 11 days to come up. And I was in terrible pain the whole time, but I was just so determined. You know, I'm going to do this, we're going to make it, and then we'll fly out. And I got checked out at the Anchorage hospital, which, by the way, ended up being a torn tendon, which feels like a cracked rib. and healed fine, totally fine now. But can you imagine if I had so he was my boyfriend. If my boyfriend had convinced me to come along with him, and I was then experiencing this, or if I really just didn't understand what I was getting myself into, or I was like, oh, I just want to climb Denali because I'm into the 7 summits, but I'm not really into it. Like, if I didn't have that passion and that love and that drive, the whole thing had been my idea. I had nobody else to blame for being there but myself. But because of that, I was able to keep it together and still, despite being in pain, look around and be grateful for this amazing, amazing experience that I had. And this is myself with John. This is one of our self-portraits we took on a day when we had very little visibility. We were climbing, nobody else was climbing, but we're like, we can't lose any days. And I don't know if you can tell, but we were actually really happy there. It's kind of cold and miserable and everything. And I come back to Denali a lot, because following your passion sometimes can be really, really hard. But what's worse, when you face all of those obstacles that will come your way, because life is difficult, nothing's going to make it easier. Following your passion doesn't actually make it any easier. But when you hit those obstacles and you're working through them for yourself, it makes all the difference. When I used to work through some serious obstacles and pull all-nighters and do this crazy travel, but for other people, especially ones I didn't respect, and that stays in this room, I was totally miserable. I was totally miserable. So now you might be asking yourself, what is my passion? What could I be doing where I feel inspired, or at least empowered, that I can get through these obstacles to at least try to get to where I'm going, what my goal and my mission is. And not everybody knows it. It took me over 10 years to realize, through a lot of these experiences and seeing how much they helped me, and in particular the impact it had on women. Even just doing a 6-mile hike that they thought they couldn't do could seriously transform somebody and tell me things like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop turning myself around, because I have all these people around me encouraging me to complete this hike. And I realized I turn myself around all the time at home. So that's my passion, and that's what inspires me to keep working through all of the obstacles. And I'm not going to lie to you, just because I'm following my passion doesn't mean I don't still face all these obstacles. So it just gives me something that feels like it's bigger than me to keep working through, and that has made all the difference. Thank you. I love Emilie's story.